If you have questions, concerns, and are just lost when it comes to planning for retirement, meet Steve Hoyle and Derrick Caldwell of the Hoyle Financial Group. And I tell you what, when it comes to do-it-yourself projects, I'm guilty like everybody out there. I've gone on YouTube and said, hey, how do I fix the garbage disposal? How do I fix this? And, Steve, you're shaking your head. You seem like you've kind of done the do-it-yourself route when it comes to some home repair.
Oh, Jess, I've done the do-it-yourselfer, and I'm horrible at it. I'm great in the yard. I'm a great gardener, or great doing that. And I've painted the house and stuff, but plumbing issues, oh my gosh, it's horrible.
You really have to be careful if you're attempting to do things that you don't necessarily have a license for. Simple things like even when you're taking down a microwave and you unplug it, it actually still holds a charge and it could fatally shock you. So if you're planning on replacing a microwave, watch yourself. And then, of course, you have gas and electric, which I would never deal with or touch, but there's some folks out there that do. So whether you're installing a gas range or a lighting fixture, working with gas and electricity could turn into a disaster if you're not a licensed electrician or plumber. And 9 times out of 10, if you're trying to tackle something like that, that's so precise, like plumbing and gas and stuff like that, you might end up making it worse than it already was. And then you're spending 2 or 3 times more getting the professional out there, if you know what I mean. And it got me thinking about planning for retirement. It's certainly not a Googleable do-it-yourself project, planning for retirement, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you, I love my father-in-law, Jim. Beyond everything. He's been like a father to me. He's fantastic. But I'll kind of give you a real world example there is that he is literally like Mike MacGyver incarnate. Like he can do anything. Things I wouldn't even think about. He'll be, oh, yeah, do this, do that, and everything. But it's never quite right, if that makes any sense. Right. Like it works, and it works up to his level of expertise. But, for instance, he was putting in a whole house generator. He didn't want to pay anybody to do that. So he wired it all himself, did it all, everything. And he tells me, as we're testing this thing, and keep in mind, I just walk up, from being at the office and everything. Hey, what are you doing? He tells me this. He's like, yeah, okay, so just to let you know, the first time we do this, you got to hit this switch first, and this other one, because I wired it this way. But if you hit it in the opposite order, it could start a fire.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing. And it worked flawlessly and everything. But in his mind, he knew how to do it and everything, so he wasn't that worried about it starting a fire. But the next person, yeah, it is definitely not code. I will tell you that, guys. So it's kind of the same thing with financial planning and retirement planning is you could do the basics, the outline there, and that's what we see more and more and more. But when I sit down with do-it-yourselfers, there's huge gaps in things that they don't think about because it's not their job. And that's okay, because I'll tell you what, Jess, Steve, if you want a bridge built, who do you call? There's engineers that do that for a living that we cannot do. We can be retirement planners all day, but there are things that are not in our skill set that we have a basic understanding of maybe, but we don't do it on a daily basis. It's the same thing. I can't do your job. You can't do mine. And that's okay. We all have our strengths and weaknesses in what we do because, Steve, how long have you been doing this? 35 years? How do you get 35 years of knowledge by Googling?
Well, but Derrick, what I think it is our strategy we've learned from our clients. Not from a textbook of doing it this way. No, we should tweak it, do it like this. Oh, no, I think you're going to need some more emergency fund during those next 10 years. I think that's why our platform works. It's funny. Ask your broker or whoever you're doing business with, your financial guy, were you here for 2008? It was crazy. I was here for it. We watched what the ripple effects after 2008 really were in the economy. I watched in the banking years where there were run-on banks and people, how they plan for that. And I think all of those things are really important because I'm going to tell you that I don't care if you vote red, blue, or purple. We're going to have an election coming up, and I'm going to tell you, no matter who wins, I think we're going to have chaos in the U.S. of A.
Yeah, Steve, and you can't really ask that question of financial advisors because you've been in business 35 years. Do you know the percentage of people that are still in our business after 35 years?
That's crazy.
Feel free to ask, guys, but it's a very small percentage. We've seen these companies come and go, these advisors come and go, and I'll tell you, if you're listening, you've probably had 3 or 4 different advisors over the last 10 or 20 years. I mean, this is a common theme in our industry. Oh, I talked to my Edward Jones guy, and then he went off and he retired, or he did this, this, and this, and somehow I got this person. And, it's a totally new person. And that happens all the time, that you have to find another advisor, or you get just shoveled away into another one. And, or like I said, they just close down completely. So that's what's, great for me, Steve, is you've been in business so long, and we have some clients that you've known throughout every stage of retirement, and being able to speak to that. You're going into a retirement stage. So you've seen it, you're doing it. That's a great experience for all of our clients, hands down.
Well, it's funny. I even mowed some of their yards, but we won't talk about that today. But they'll remind me, The funny thing is, I think the other interesting thing is, Derrick, not have I been there so long, but our team has been there so long. We have a lady that's been with us 9 years that is a new business. During those years, she went out and got a mechanical engineering degree, was going to leave us and become a mechanical engineer, but she loves what she does so much. And we made it so rewarding to her because she's so much an integral part of our secret sauce. She's still with us, and I sure don't think she's going anywhere. And it's just, I think having people that know our clients in and out, know the process, they'll come back and say, have you ever thought about doing it like this? But that's the great thing about having people that have been with you a long time.
We talk about the cost of living and inflation pretty much on a weekly basis. I don't think I need to remind you that, of course, costs have jumped since the pandemic, and we got historic inflation in food, energy, rent, and housing. In fact, a new study found that a single person needs more than $96,000 to live comfortably in many major U.S. cities, and a family of 2 adults and 2 kids need to bring in at least $235,000 a year to live that way in half of the 99 cities that were measured. I know some people are hearing these facts and figures saying, I don't make that much money. Is this why I'm struggling? What do I do? What do you guys say to that?
Yeah, guys, I don't know about y'all, but that's some high figures there. That really puts you top 20% earner in the United States. So it's definitely hitting people in the pocketbook, and inflation still is hanging around. If you've seen gas prices, and really the biggest thing for me, guys, is the grocery store. I can't imagine.
What about Whataburger? Is Whataburger killing you?
I always make room for Whataburger, Steve. That's not even a problem, buddy. So.
No, but you're right. Honestly, though, whether it's fast food or a restaurant or the grocery store, it is painful. And I want to make sure I mention this. I don't want to forget here. Houston is actually the cheapest city on the list for both single and family categories. They say $75,000 salary is what you need to be comfortable. So if you're struggling elsewhere, maybe just hitch on over to Houston.
Well, Jess, if you have your house still there, the storm in Houston was so bad. It's just awful what's happened to people in Houston. I have a lot of friends in Houston, and they're really struggling. It just kind of wiped through buildings and really affected people's lives. It's really tough. Then you see people getting taken advantage of, and then, Derrick, as we talked about, the do-it-yourselfers, then, it's the whole thing is horrible in Houston. It really is.
Well, yeah, and that goes to, part of this is what we just talked about is, controlling what you can control. There's nothing, guys, that we could do about inflation. We hope the Fed makes the proper moves and to lower inflation, and our government as a whole becomes a lot more thrifty and things like that to control spending. But hope is not a plan. We haven't seen that for a very long time, so I doubt that's going to happen. But controlling your portfolio and what you do to combat inflation is something that is in your control. So many different strategies, Steve, we've seen over the years and how they've kind of changed. And inflation really impacts the bond market. That's something that's really been hammering the standard 60-40 portfolio that everybody's been using for 30 years. And bam, up comes annuities. Annuities are the biggest thing since sliced bread right now to help with that. Right. And really kind of as a bond replacement, people are using them. And that's something that's really growing in a strategy there. So that's something that we're utilizing a lot of Whole Financial too. But there's so many different products now that offer inflation adjustments. Those annuities that have lifetime income components to them, they also a lot of them have inflationary fighting increases each year to help your income, which a lot of, even pensions and things like that don't. You get what you get. You don't throw a fit. But there's ways to change it.
I think also, Derrick, what we do for our clients, we have income. I mean, let that income, if you can get started early, if you're 59 and a half and you can take control of your money, you ought to call us. Or you have an old IRA, an old 401k, some emergency money that you have too much emergency money, you want to put some of that to use, or some inheritance. But I'm going to tell you that what we're really doing for our clients that's worked so well is, after you get that income plan in place, having catch-up buckets. You used to tell people it'd be 8 or 10 years before you need to turn that bucket of money on for more income. It's 3 or 4 years. You need it today, but you got to hold off. I'm telling you, having that income strategy. Derrick, we're seeing people let their money roll up a few years. They can take 13 to 14% out each and every year, and neither one can run out of money. It's huge. We need to sit down and show you those numbers. They're huge.
Yeah, we actually have one I did the other day, Steve, and with its guaranteed increases each year for income, when this gentleman retires, he's going to be pulling a guaranteed 9.4% off of his assets.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Phenomenal.
Wow.
Yeah, so given sufficient time and the right annuity, the right tool, you can boost your income incredibly. And that's something a lot of people are interested in right now, is obviously to help in combat inflation. And, every day there's something, insurance, my homeowner's insurance. Jeez.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
everyone's insurance has gone up. Yep.
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? Charge the people that had claims. Don't charge me.
I just think it's important, as we talk about, when you have time on your side, the earlier you get started. People so much, Derrick, think it's about that number, having having so much money. No, it's about, with kind of inflation we're having, how much income you can generate. It's, I think one of the things we've done different for the past 35 years is we've really focused on that final phase of life called retirement. And, we're different. We see it different. And I think the other thing is, we're not about just growing your money. We're about growing your income to get you in and through retirement, and then doing legacy plan, what you want to leave behind. But also taking care of those things like if you have to go to a nursing home, or how much money do you need out of pocket for health care. When I tell people that you need $250,000, possibly for you and your spouse during retirement for health care, they laugh at me. But I'm going to tell you, there's so many drugs right now that are experimental for all different kinds of things like cancer that you need. So it's really dotting the I's and crossing the T's with that plan. That's what I think it's all about.
Absolutely. And Derrick, you always say it best. You always say, give me 2 hours or give your boss 2 years. Tell our listeners what you mean by that.
Absolutely. And that's when you fail to plan and you don't have a plan in place. That's what ends up happening. I mean, we see it time and time again, is that you work longer than you need to, or most likely at what you want to work. And by giving me the proper time, 2 hours of your time, give me 2 meetings, guys. I mean, most people spend more time at the grocery store, like we talked about, than actually planning for retirement. If you give me that, that it can make or break your retirement and your whole entire outlook on retirement. Because I'll tell you, the other day, we had a client that came in, took him on as a new client, and we absolutely love this guy. He is the life of the party, I'll tell you. Steve, you know exactly who I'm talking about. And, his plan was to retire at 70. That's what he said. I have a real hard time retiring, Derrick. And he's like, I just know that I'm going to have to retire. I'm going to have to work and retire at 70. That's just what my dad did. Everybody's done before me, kind of thing. And, when we started to look at his portfolio, there were some things we needed to change. There were some gaps, and everything. But by addressing those, we were able to get him retired 4 years earlier. Guys, 4 years earlier. He literally was blown away, because he was like, you mean right now I can go ahead and pull the trigger? And I said, yes.
Wow.
You have done a great job. We just have to adjust some of these things, where you're taking income from when, do some tax strategies here, and get you set up for income streams that you can utilize in retirement. And he was a great addition to our whole financial team. He understood the process, everything. 4 years. I don't know about y'all, but that's 4 years of our lives that we can give back to somebody. That's the greatest compliment to what we do here that I can ever get. and he's retired now. He just was blown away, and it was so fun to see him kind of skip off because he's not a quiet guy.
No.
So, yeah. I mean, he's telling everybody. We've already gotten 3 calls from his friends and doing some retirement planning for them, too, because they caught on that, hey, all I need is a plan in place, and we will tell you, hey, you got to work longer. Your objectives don't meet your requirements for what you need to retire, and we'll tell you, hey, sometimes you can retire sooner. But knowing that is half the battle, and putting that plan into place is not only the best thing we do at Hoyle Financial, but it's a game changer for most people.
If you'd like to sit down with Steve and Derrick or a member of the Hoyle Financial Group, visit retiretexasstyle.com.
By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities offered through Steve Hoyle, Texas Insurance License 716036. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Steve Hoyle is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Steve Hoyle is licensed in your state, please call 806-371-9473.